Okay, thank you. And let me welcome you to the 2020 UPS George Smith Prize competition. I'm Rob Dell. I had the honor of being the chair for this year's prize committee. And I'm going to start with congratulations to your team on behalf of all of the judges. Being selected as a finalist for this prize is an honor few programs have achieved. This prize is named in honor of the late UPS Chief Executive Officer, who was a champion of operations research. The UPS George D. Smith Prize, it was created in the spirit of strengthening ties between industry and the schools of higher education that graduate practitioners of operations research. The prize recognizes effective and innovative preparation of students to be practitioners of operations research or analytics. Let me introduce the judging team that has the difficult task of selecting a winner from our three outstanding finalists. We have Hai Chu from Disney, Jill Harding-Wilson from Northwestern University, Harish Krishna from the University of British Columbia, Rena Schinner was our past chair, Andy Wasser, Carnegie Mellon University, and Hanning Yu from Amazon. I have to thank our sponsor. Without UPS, this prize would not be possible, and I'm excited that UPS executives are on the call today hearing the prize presentations. And with that, I will turn it over to your team and with my thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Rob, and I'll just wait for our presentation to start. So good afternoon, everybody. I am Ravi Bapna, and thank you for inviting us to talk about the analytics education offerings from the Information and Decision Sciences Department at the Carlson School of Management at the University of Minnesota. We've put together a panel of faculty who have been responsible for the conception and the design of the program, our current program director, our managing director of the Experiential Learning Lab, as well as current and former students, to really give you a 360-degree perspective of the conception, the innovations, and the impact of the program. And the way we judge the success of our program is based on what our students can do to impact the practice of analytics and OR out in the real world. And so please indulge us in taking you through a tour of the greater Twin Cities. I'm going to share with you a few examples of the wonderful work the students have done to tee up this presentation. And we'll start at the leafy suburb of Arden Hills, Minnesota, where we have Land O'Lakes, a 100-year-old currently Fortune 500 agricultural company that came to us in the spring of 2017, saying that they wanted to be more data-driven in the recommendations that they were giving to their farmer owners. It's a cooperative organization. These recommendations, the recommendations they were giving, were generated by Land O'Lakes Winfield United business unit, and they were based on mining patterns of agronomy data from 200 sensor-laden test fields that they had spread out across the upper Midwest of our country. The challenge was to take the insights from these 200 test plots and generalize them to the 300,000 farms they owned, for instance, in Minnesota and Wisconsin. They faced difficulty in getting the farmers to trust the new data science-based recommendations of which seeds to use, how much fertilizer to use, and so on. So originally, Winfield agronomists made these recommendations to the farmers based on the notion of geographic similarity. So the idea was that if you have a farm, they would look at the nearest test plot and make predictions for a particular farm based on the most closest answer plot, test plot that they had. However, growing conditions may differ drastically and do differ drastically between a farmer's field and a test plot that's even a short distance away. So our Masters of Science students, as a part of their experiential learning project in the Carlson Analytics Lab, converted geographic similarity to a multi-dimensional. So geographic similarity is a unidimensional concept. So they converted that to a multi-dimensional growing condition similarity. What do we mean by that? They actually had to factor in much more data, and they had to conduct extensive data engineering to integrate crop layer data from the USDA, soil data from the National Resource Conservation Service, weather observation data from the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, and even topographical data from NASA and the satellite imagery that they could capture from there. So this new multi-dimensional growing condition-based metric improved similarity by almost 7% as compared to the old geographic similarity method. And adopting this new approach has really gone a long way for Land O'Lakes to build the trust with their farmers. So from the leafy suburbs of Arden Hills, let's drive down a few miles south, maybe 20 minutes south, to downtown Minneapolis. And let's visit the Hennepin County offices in Government Center in the city of Minneapolis. Now, Hennepin County is our state's most densely populated county. You know, I happen to live in this county, in the city itself. It accounts for 23% of the state's 5.6 million residents. It also has some of the worst socioeconomic indicators in the nation for people of color. For instance, in the realm of housing, thousands of people get evicted from their homes each year for non-payment of rent. So our goal was to detect early warning signals that are predictive of evictions before they occur, so that the county could reach out to these people and make them aware of the emergency assistance prevention program that they had in place, that they had the budget for. We worked with the county to formulate this problem as a prediction problem to be solved using machine learning. The models were built and tested using 1.5 million rows of household by month data spanning 8 years. And as an example, if we use the predictions of the model and applied them for the year 2015, and assuming the baseline level of effectiveness of the outreach that the county had achieved in the past, we estimated that we could have actually proactively prevented 159, almost 50% actually, 159 out of the 308 evictions that took place that year. So this is an example of a really high impact project that impacts people's lives, right? So let's now move from downtown Minneapolis back up north, take Highway I-94, and let's visit Fridley, Minnesota. And as far back as spring of 2015, we engaged with a Fortune 500 medical device manufacturer in our backyard that was dealing with an issue that most marketers face. You know, one that is summarized in Wanamaker's famous quote, "Half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is I just don't know which half." Specifically, our students were brought in to determine whether causal linkages existed between the various engagement activities their neuromodulation unit was doing, such as events, conferences, workshops, and if there were linkages between those activities and the physician's behaviors in terms of actually prescribing their neuromodulation devices. So our students looked at data from 1,000 plus events with over 16,000 attendees, triangulated that with medical records of 150 million unique patients being treated by 1.1 million practitioners. And linking marketing actions to outcomes and ROI requires a skill set that is adept at separating correlation from causation. And our students, by virtue of undergoing extensive training in A/B testing, in econometrics, helped this client use propensity score matching to estimate the impact of, to actually eliminate the impact of the several confounding factors and more precisely estimate the unbiased ROI metrics from the company's marketing actions. So from Fridley, I'll take you to the final stop of our brief tour of the Twin Cities area, and we will end actually our tour at the Mall of America. Many people, when they think of Minneapolis, they actually think of the Mall of America. It attracts 40 million visitors annually, and to cater to these visitors, it staffs anywhere from 11,000 to 13,000 people on a given day, depending on the expected traffic. Take, for instance, the 20 rides the mall owns in its Nickelodeon Universe theme park. These have to be optimally staffed in a tight labor market. At least it was tight last year when we did this project. And the mall knew that the status quo of using business intuition to do staffing was not optimal. But it did not have the bandwidth or the talent internally to take on a full-blown constrained optimization scheduling project. Now, fortunately, they've been a long-standing partner of ours. We'll give you some more color into this as we go on into the presentation. And our students took on the challenge of coming up with an optimal model to maximize daily profit subject to budgetary constraints and compliance constraints. The project exemplified the journey of going from predictions of daily demand for rides, for instance, to decisions of allocating optimal levels of staff. And by optimally reducing staff from low demand areas and moving them to high demand areas, or scaling up or scaling down, remember I gave you a range of 11,000 to 13,000. By just scaling up and scaling down on a more accurate forecast of the demand, and then doing the optimization over that, we estimated a potential profit increase of 16% over the status quo intuition-based staffing approach that they had. So hopefully, these projects have given you a sense of the breadth of the types of analytics we make our students do. And our students, we characterize these analytics in terms of 4 pillars. The first example that I gave you was an example of a descriptive pillar where we were thinking, where the real contribution was actually in the data engineering and computing the new similarity metric. We talked about predictive and causal. And the last example was a classic prescriptive analytics process. And we take real great pride in the fact that our program really emphasizes the breadth of these analytics techniques. And we think of them as being 4 pillars. Each pillar goes in a lot of depth. For instance, in the prescriptive pillar, students learn, not only just sort of, how to formulate a linear programming or an integer programming problem, but they learn about simulation. And these 4 pillars actually stand, as I've already sort of, given you a hint of, they stand on a very, very deep foundation of data engineering. We know that almost 70% of the time for creating real change in organizations, for doing real world analytics projects, is spent in cleaning, aggregating, integrating, and transforming data, as you saw in the case of Winfield with Land O'Lakes. And so on this foundation and on these pillars, actually sits another layer of business acumen and analytics translation that we take really, really seriously and weave into the curriculum. So we emphasize storytelling. We emphasize the issues around ethical and fair use of data. And we make sure that the students remember that they are getting a business school degree, that they understand the difference between a profit and loss statement and a balance sheet. They understand the principles of marketing. And we believe that all of these things have to come together to really bring our true business change. And we like to think of this as the house of analytics. So that's the model for our curriculum. It integrates our theory and practice. It unifies the curriculum. It helps companies actually change from being traditional to becoming more digitally transformed and data science oriented. And it really empowers our students to become those change agents as they go out. And we've applied this, we've refined this model in the MS program, but then we've extended it both up and down. We've extended it, for instance, to launch in 2017 a new undergraduate analytics minor. And I'll show you some numbers in the next slide. that this has really taken off. And at the other end of the spectrum, we do a large volume of executive education, taking people who are in the director to VP levels in companies and showing them the art of the possible with respect to these 4 pillars, right? So when you see these numbers on this slide, if you look at the red line, you see the growth in our MS program from 2015, where we started off with a batch of 25 students, up to 136 as of today. The blue line reflects the sharp growth in our undergraduate minor in analytics, started in 2017 with 196, and I expect it to double actually this year. And in the last 2 years, we've trained more than 345 executives of the type that I was telling you a little earlier. So how do we make all of this possible? Let me turn it over to Alok Gupta, and he's going to give you some more insights into that.
Thank you, Ravi. We believe that besides having an increasing number of great students that Ravi showed, there are 4 structural reasons of our success. It's grounded in our history, our faculty, our deep connection with the industry, and what we believe to be the most comprehensive MS analytics program in the country. Next slide. In terms of the department, it has always been an interdisciplinary, immersive, and innovation-oriented culture. And so it's in the DNA of this department. For some of you, it may be a surprise to know that a little more than 50 years ago in 1968, the academic field of MIS was actually founded at Minnesota. It was founded by 3 pioneers, Gordon Davis, Tom Hoffman, and Gary Dixon. As far as diversity of thought goes, Tom, Gary, and Gordon could not have been more different from each other. Gordon was all about efficiency, Tom loved his algorithms, and Gary dreamt about humans with computers. This enduring legacy of the department emerged naturally from melding of their diverse thoughts, and thankfully it continues to date with our faculty coming from a diverse academic backgrounds. The accomplishments of the programs are shown in the statistics about the program rankings in the last slide. We are able to get, next slide. We are able to get the great faculty that are cornerstone of our success because of our reputation and due to the continued visible demonstration of excellence in scholarship. In fact, in the field, this group is often referred to as a galaxy of stars. Just to name a few accomplishments of our faculty, we have had 4 ISS distinguished, ISS is Information Systems Society, Distinguished Fellow Awards. I believe it's more than any other group in the country. 3 dissertation awards, 3 design science awards, and several junior faculty awards. And our current faculty have published more than 80 papers in major informs journals. There are also many non-informs accomplishments as well. For example, we have had people with multiple NSF Career Grant Awards, which is a bit unusual for business schools, as you may know, and many awards from Association of Information Systems. Our faculty are also heavily involved in professional services at Informs. I'm honored to serve as the editor-in-chief of Information Systems Research, which is one of the top 2 journals in the information systems field. And as shown on the slide, several of our faculty members have been serving as AEs and SEs in multiple Informs journals, including Management Science, ISR, Org Science, Informs Journal of Computing, and so on. There's also been significant involvement with current and past organizational service at Informs, such as executive positions of Information Systems Society as presidents and vice presidents, and with the Informs Publication Committee, both in the past and in present. To summarize, this is a truly talented group of academics that is deeply committed to education, research, outreach, and professional service. I could not be more proud of being amongst them. I'd now like to hand it back over to Ravi to talk about our industry partnerships.
So we like to complement our strong academic and research credentials with very, very deep and deliberate engagements that happen and often start in very different ways with the business community that's around us. For example, consider our relationship with Optum, which is a part of United Health Group, which is the largest health insurance company in the country, a Fortune 5 company. They started engaging with us actually in executive education. Many of their director to VP level people have been coming in cohorts of 30 over the last 2 years, just learning and getting more depth into the art of the possible with respect to analytics. Now, from those executive ed classes, we actually spun off projects that were then done. So these people actually became clients of the Carlson Analytics Lab and spun off projects to get going with analytics and solving specific problems. And from those projects, they started hiring the students to then actually complete the projects once they get once the semester gets over and work still remains to be done and implemented within the company. And then the senior leadership of Optum, their CFO, for instance, serves on our department strategic board, which is one of 3 boards that we have just focused within our department. The 2 other boards help us with our undergraduate curriculum and with the MSBA program. And so we have, Optum is one example that started with exec ed. We have had other examples where the relationship started with a project in the lab. And then again, we start seeing this virtual cycle play out again and again. So we are really excited about that. But to give you a little more insight into the actual curriculum itself, I'm going to invite Derlu next and over to him.
So the reason our student projects so successful with our clients is because we prepare them well with our rigorous and comprehensive curriculum. So next, I will give you a brief overview of our curriculum, focusing on our full-time MSBA program. Our program is a 45 credit program that spans a year. It starts from early June and ends in early May. It has 3 semesters. We adopt a distinct lockstep cohort design so that we can achieve tight coordination between courses and maximize student learning. So in the summer, the focus is foundations. So that includes a custom designed business essential course that introduces to students fundamentals of different business disciplines with a focus on the role of analytics in those domains. Students also gave it a heavy dose on technical foundations, including a stats course, an intro to business analytics course, also serves the introduction to R, and we have a programming Python course, and also a high quality SQL course focused on data management. In the fall, students pick up a lot of different analytics toolkits using courses such as exploratory data analytics, which is essentially an unsupervised machine learning course, and a predictive analytics course, and a big data course that focuses on big data engineering and cloud computing. A unique course I mentioned by Ravi is a causal inference course where students learn to do A/B testing, experiment design, as well as advanced econometrics to drive causal conclusions. In the fall, we also include 2 managerial courses, one on team management, the other on data ethics. The spring semester is heavy on experiential learning, so it includes a 6 credit experiential learning project that lasts 14 weeks, and students work with solving problems for our clients. Along with it, we also teach them project management using agile method. In the spring, we also have 2 specialty topic courses, including an optimization simulation course, which is the 4th pillar of our house of analytics model. And another course on advanced issues, focusing on time series forecasting and also social network analytics. I want to highlight that most of the technical courses in our program are taught by tenure track faculty. So that's the reason we can keep innovating these courses, also maximize learning. For example, Our exploratory data analytics course is taught by Professor McFarlane. He not only teaches the usual unsupervised machine learning methods, he also teaches students how to do anomaly detection. That's his research area. And in fact, anomaly detection has been used successfully in a number of projects we have done. The predictive analytics course is taught by Professor Cheng. And he has 2 PhDs, one in computer science, one in information system. So he made a number of innovations in this course, including introducing a deep learning module, as well as recommender system module. Those are also his research areas. On top of this rigorous and comprehensive program, we tie everything together with our experiential learning design. So next, I'm going to focus on how we design our experiential learning components. We design our experiential learning throughout the curriculum. We started with the last semester with a capstone project that lasted 14 weeks long. But quickly, one of our clients recommended to us another form of experiential learning called live case. So the live case essentially is a 4-week data science competition that we work with a real client, real data set. In fact, the live case was so successful that we quickly expanded to the fall semester, so that each semester student will experience one experiential learning project. On top of this experiential learning project, we also introduced another innovation, which is called trend marketplace projects. So these project happens in summer and fall. So these are essentially the course projects, but with one important twist. Instead of having students presenting in classrooms, we actually hold open format. We hold a trade style fair in our atrium. We invite our industry partners to serve as guest judges, also the faculty and doctoral students. Students are so passionate about, they really impress our judges with their technical sophistication, their creativity, also their business sense. With these extensive experiential learning projects, we also find opportunity to provide professional training. So a lot of us know that professional skills are important, but they are very difficult to teach in classrooms. Over time, we have developed a strategy that we actually embedded professional skill training using our experiential learning opportunities. For example, in the summer, we start off with a consultative mindset workshop just in time to get students ready for their first live case project. During the live case project, we provide them communication and presentation instruction, as well as one-on-one coaching opportunities. In fact, we provide this kind of communication and presentation training and coaching opportunities throughout our program whenever they are having experiential learning projects. In the fall, we time our teamwork course with the live case so that students are ready to having a high performance team in this live case projects. We follow that up with a spring teamwork consultation session so that when students having problems with their teams during the spring project, they can come to our instructor and help them diagnose the problems. We also tightly integrate our project management course with the spring experiential learning projects so that when on one hand they learn the agile methodology from the project management course, and on the other hand, they can use them right away in their actual projects. So with these, now to bring this curriculum as well as experiential learning design to life, I would like to invite one of our current MSBA students, Sampada, to talk about her experience.
Thank you, Professor Do. So I'm a computer science graduate and I've worked at SAP Labs back in India for 4 years before coming to Carlson. When I decided to pursue a master's in analytics a year and a half ago, I chose to come to Carlson instead of going anywhere else, mostly because of the experiential learning aspect, which is truly one of a kind, the intensive curriculum covering a wide breadth of analytical topics like machine learning, econometrics, exploratory analytics, which also were my favorite courses through the curriculum, and finally, the great feedback I received from alums. They told me that coming to Carlson was one of the best decisions of their lives, and now, having almost reached graduation time, I can only mirror their sentiments. I came into this course as a developer who had some haphazard analytical knowledge last summer. When I joined school last summer, I froze on so many days. Summers in Minnesota are what winters are like back in India. I feared the upcoming winter terribly, but weather soon became one of the last things on my mind. The course is so intense and there is just so much to do and learn. Every class gives you an opportunity to work on interesting, many times mind-bending projects. You get to work in a team with a diverse group of extremely talented individuals. Every project, every assignment is designed to challenge you, and the learnings from these challenging assignments are something that I would remember for the longest time. I got to work on extremely cool assignments that made the nerd in me extremely excited. For example, during my Python class, one such assignment was to design and code the game of Battleship. There was a leaderboard where I competed against classmates to beat them at their game. Another one was where we built a neural network for image classification and competed against each other to get the highest accuracy. I truly believe I have never had a learning curve as exponential as the one I've had during my time in this course. Currently, I'm engaged in a project with a leading Fortune 100 medical device company. We are helping them predict orders that would be delivered late. In spite of COVID-19 and everything else that's happening around the world, my coursework and project have not been impacted slightly. I still have my weekly meetings with the client to discuss and share project updates with my professor to get guidance and insights on techniques that could be implemented. This exposure has truly helped me apply my classroom learnings to solve a real-world problem, build and hone on my presentation and project management skills, since a lot of work has to be completed in a span of 14 weeks, and the value of it has to be presented to the client. I would now like to invite Ellen to talk more about the Carlson Analytics Lab, which orchestrates these projects for students.
It really is a thrill to hear Sampada's story because our whole mission in the Carlson Analytics Lab is to provide that kind of transformational experience she just described. So let's talk about how we do that. We start with real clients. Our clients bring us real problems and we charge them a real fee. We find that this raises the bar on the work that is done and the engagement of our clients. The clients do expect high quality work, and we make sure this expectation is met by providing a structured process of milestones, deliverables, all in service of completing the agreed upon scope. These are real business problems, and the data is often messy. We don't shy away from that. We embrace that. We know how important it is for our students to get experience with data engineering. And so messy data is just part of the package. How do we make sure this all works? We provide real support. Our students on each team have a dedicated faculty advisor who they meet with weekly. They also have a dedicated professional advisor and a communications coach, project management, and team consultations available. This delivers real results. We're currently completing 23 projects this semester, and this will bring us to 90 plus projects and 60 plus clients over the course of the past 6 years of the program. This will bring in over $2 million of revenue, which we put back into the lab and our students. None of this could be possible without the long-standing relationships of our client partners. Let me talk to you about one such relationship. The Mall of America came to us several years ago, having just launched Wi-Fi in their space. It was exciting to have launched Wi-Fi because all of a sudden they had a treasure trove of data, but it wasn't actionable. So our students mapped the Wi-Fi data to the physical space of the mall and built segments that were location and behavior based. Let's hear the Mall of America team and our students talk about where we went from here with this relationship.
Mall of America is a very unique business. It's not just a shopping mall. We've got dining, we've got a ton of attractions. We have an amusement park in the center of the mall. So it's very different from a lot of other malls, and it's very different from a lot of corporations and businesses as well. So it brings really a unique set of challenges with it. We knew that we had a lot of data, and we knew that we didn't have the resources or the time internally to look at all of it to the degree and the extent that we wanted to. So the opportunity with the Carlson Analytics Lab came up, and we said, okay, let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. Let's give these guys a very messy data set that we really haven't looked at before and see what they can come up with.
The projects are my favorite part of the program because you actually do get to take what you're learning in the classroom and put it into the real world.
There are interesting ways in which data can be captured and which can be used to ensure that the mall is healthy, by ensuring that the customers are happy, that the stores are happy and they're doing well. That was interesting for me to learn how the mall business works, and that data can really influence a lot of how mall can be successful and mall can perform well.
What exactly is customer experience, and how can you use data that you have just from rides to actually help develop that point of view was really something that forced me and my team to think about what we would be looking for from the customer point in the mall, and also thinking about how we could give them a solution that actually made sense for what they were trying to do at the end of the day and they could implement without too much work.
Having the analytics lab group focus on one particular data set over the course of a semester and the insights that they're able to get out of it in terms of here's what we have to do as far as next steps to be able to continue to use this data. And here's some of the key insights that you're able to get from it and how you might be able to modify some of your business practices or operational procedures to help become more efficient or to help improve the guest experience. It's been incredibly valuable. We have yet to be disappointed. Everything has always been very interesting, very insightful.
This pretty much gives me an idea of what it would be in the industry, where, how do you use advanced analytics techniques to help improve a real life business problem, interacting with multiple people out there in the mall in this case, and working with the team and the faculty. All of that I think helped enrich the learning experience that I had and make sure that okay, I don't just have a theoretical knowledge of what I've learned, and now I have an actual practical experience.
So as that video shows you, over the years, we've worked on several interesting projects for Mall of America. Here's a second example of a really long-standing client relationship. As Ravi mentioned, our Land O'Lakes relationship began with our work for their Winfield Crop Sciences division. But that work was a springboard for other interesting work within other divisions of Land O'Lakes, including their Ingredients division and their Purina division. So let's listen to Land O'Lakes and our students talk about the relationship with Land O'Lakes in general and a specific project our students worked on for the Purina division involving voice of the consumer analysis.
Land O'Lakes is an agricultural company, it's an animal nutrition company, and it's also a consumer products goods. In each of those different industries, let's call it that, data is becoming very important, and then the insights you derive from the data.
Purina had an internal hypothesis that their marketing statement wasn't balanced with their customer reviews. And that's when they approached us. They wanted a way to quantify it, and it was our job to find a way to do that.
They wanted to understand the voice of the customer. They wanted to understand what the customer talk about the product.
We found that their marketing benefits were not necessarily aligned with their customer reviews.
That whole approach was explained to the marketing team, and they've latched onto that. And now as they create content, and they're changing the language that they're using to be able to better resonate with the user reviews that we're seeing and better align with the sentiment of what customers are looking for.
Working with a real company and getting to work on real data, that was a really interesting experience for me. And acting as student consultants, that was fun, and it was something I'd never done in school before.
This particular ELP program had given me a great opportunity to explore new techniques and new ideas in the real world problem.
We've always had great success with the projects that the students have engaged in, and we always get great insights out of it. It's one thing to read about it, some blog or some article, or even hear about it at a conference. It's another when you actually see it in action with somebody using it and in a lot of cases, actually the students will end up working for our organization in the future. So that's also a great benefit of doing these initiatives.
So now we have an alumni of our original Land O'Lakes Winfield project, as well as an alumni of our MSBA program, Bill Erdman. He's joining us here to talk about the impact of the MSBA experience on his career path.
Thanks, Ellen. Good afternoon. I'm excited to share some of the impact of projects I've done at Cargill as a data scientist. But, I'd like to begin by sharing how Carlson set me up for success and actually impacted my life. In late 2015, I was a senior petroleum engineering student. Oil was trading near $28 a barrel, not as bad as it is now, but it was bad then. And my interviews and potential offers really dried up quick. I tried to get roughneck jobs. I interviewed for a few engineering positions. And with petroleum engineering so kind of laser focused, it was hard to see transitioning to other engineering professions without a large investment in further years of education. I had one and only one door shut, and I didn't know where to turn. So actually in my last interview, I spoke about my desire to use my critical thinking skills, and my interviewer suggested looking into analytics. I began researching programs and interviewing current students and alumni, much like this event we're doing today. And I wanted to find a program that was rigorous and as applied as possible so that I could transition well from my petroleum engineering to a new career. I chose Carlson, and then this is still one of the most life-changing decisions I've made. Of course, the program was very difficult. It was super tough, and I had the opportunity to partner with companies like Land O'Lakes, Cargill, an international CPG company, and more. However, the biggest impact on the trajectory of my life and career was Carlson took me, a petroleum engineer with no doors open, to developing me into an analytics professional and opening up every door imaginable. Within 2 weeks at Cargill, I was leveraging skills I learned, especially during the experiential learning projects, when I was tasked with a sustainability project helping shrimp farmers in Ecuador. However, there was no defined problem, but Carlson prepared me to ask the right questions to solve the right business problems. Working alongside shrimp biologists, translators, farmers, marketers, developers, I was able to manage these disparate stakeholder groups to identify the problem, which was feeding the shrimp. Too much feed and the ponds could become toxic and you lose resources, and too little is that your shrimp won't grow fast enough. So I collected this data on how big the ponds were, how much feed was going in there, how many moon cycles there were, which I would have never known if I hadn't asked the right questions with domain experts who told me shrimp molt during full moons and they grow. They're like werewolf shrimp. But from this data, I developed a regression model to predict how much feed was required and what was to be used in the ponds, and it's being used today. Cargill has given me the opportunity to work all over the world, with salt miners in Ohio, to commodity traders in Amsterdam, to safety professionals in Malaysia. But I attribute much of my success to the excellent preparation I received from Carlson. And I'm incredibly thankful to be doing what I am doing today. Now, Geddes will talk about where other MSBA students have been successful creating impact and business value after graduation.
Thank you, Bill. Our analytics graduates have been hired by a wide variety of companies, a sample of which you can see on the slide. We have placed our students across a broad spectrum of industries, such as technology, financial services, retail, consulting, healthcare, logistics and transportation, and many others. And our placements span the entire country, from Minnesota to Texas, from New York City to Silicon Valley, with a few students also finding jobs abroad. Also, interestingly, the strength of our analytics program has had some positive spillover effects to our entire school in terms of placement. For instance, after several companies, which did not do on-campus recruiting historically, got involved with our analytics program, not only they do on-campus recruiting visits and hire from our program now, but they end up hiring students from other graduate and undergraduate programs as well for their other roles. Finally, our placement success has remained exceptionally strong, even with the very rapid growth of the program size over time. So what's next for us? Where do we go from here? We are continuing to innovate in several directions. On the curriculum front, after performing an in-depth analysis of industry needs and trends, we reoriented and redesigned our graduate part-time analytics program more towards the experienced industry business and management professionals, resulting in a new Master of Applied Business Analytics degree, which will start this coming fall. On the industry partnership front, we've had fruitful multi-project partnerships with several companies over the years. In some cases, clear needs were identified to dig much deeper into certain problems. That is to go much beyond master's level projects. And as a result, we are currently developing several research partnerships with industry. This has an opportunity to result in scholarly research contributions by faculty and doctoral students, while at the same time solving important practical problems in the field. On the broader societal impact front, using analytics to benefit our community is built into our mission. As was mentioned earlier, the chance to partner with a philanthropic foundation led to several student projects on important societal issues. For example, predicting evictions among vulnerable populations so that government agencies can intervene and keep people in their homes. Projects like these led us to launch the Analytics for Good Institute. This new initiative seeks to partner with foundations, nonprofits, governments, and community organizations to address societal problems using data. So, in summary, we have been successful in harnessing our department's long-standing scholarship traditions and academic leadership, our school's experiential learning DNA, and meaningful industry partnerships to deliver innovative, comprehensive, and impactful curriculum and experiences to our students. It is our belief that rigorous curriculum combined with deeply experiential learning in partnerships with companies is the future of graduate business education. It transforms students, it transforms companies, and it continuously transforms graduate education itself. So in closing, I would like to thank my colleagues in the department for all the great efforts it took to develop our programs and initiatives, and all my co-presenters for telling the story. And finally, I would like to thank Informs and Informs UPS George D. Smith Prize Committee for your consideration. Thank you very much.